Hi, my name is Tracy Craig. I'll be moderating this meeting tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. We have five attendees, and we are glad that you're here. This is Alameda County Department of Environmental Health's community meeting for the redevelopment of a property in the Castlemont neighborhood of Oakland at 8930 MacArthur Boulevard. On the left is a picture of the site as it's currently is. It's vacant and underutilized. On the right is not a picture of the project. It's a similar project that the developers, Envision Housing and New Way Homes, have in the Salinas area. Envision Housing and New Way Homes have partnered with ACDEH to develop this site. They didn't contaminate the site, but they will be addressing contamination as part of this project to support the redevelopment of the property. The site used to be a car wash. It's been vacant since 2006. And I think you probably all know where it's located. Next slide, please. This is just a pictured aerial of the slide too, actually. And at this time, while this is up, I'd actually like to go around and just do introductions because I always think it's nice for people to know who they're looking at. I want to explain a couple things. We are recording this meeting, and we'll have a link to a YouTube site that we can send out if you'd like to see it again. Secondly, we're using a webinar, which isn't the greatest format. It's not that interactive, but you can raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question or type it in the chat box. We'll be going slowly through the presentation and pause a couple of times to ask if people have questions. And then we'll be done at about 6:50. At that time, we will open it up for questions and answers. And that's really why we're here. We want to hear from you and get your input on the proposed plans to address contamination at the site. So I'm going to call our panelists' name and have them introduce themselves. First, Dylan Rowe.
Hi, I'm Dylan. I'm the Chief of the Land and Water Division for Environmental Health.
Okay, and Drew York.
Yes, I am the caseworker for this site. I'm with Alameda County Department of Environmental Health.
Okay, and Sibley Simon, I'm just going to go in a row here.
Sibley Simon, president of New Way Homes and the lead developer here for this site.
Great, and Michael Friedman, please.
Michael Friedman with RO Associates. We're the environmental consultant for Sibley's group.
Okay, so the environmental consultant, I think I heard, correct?
Yes, sorry about that.
There you are, okay. And then Serena Collins, please.
Serena Collins, a consultant with New Way Homes.
Okay, great. And then last but not least, Pastor Langford.
Hi, Pastor Langford, consultant with New Way Homes.
Great, okay. That's who we have with us tonight. And then we have our panelists, our attendees as well. Okay, next slide, please. So this meeting tonight, I want to make clear, is about environmental issues at the site. The site is planned to be developed as for affordable housing. The city of Oakland actually oversees development of the property. So that's the building and the site use. Alameda County oversees cleanup of the site, soil, groundwater, soil gas, to support that redevelopment. Envision Housing and New Way Homes, as I said, plan to redevelop the site for affordable housing and workforce housing. Workforce housing is teachers, baristas, firefighters, paramedics, people that provide day-to-day services that you use in Oakland. They're working with local churches to provide rental housing. And as I said before, there's contamination from historic land uses. And the developers will be addressing that to support redevelopment of the property. Next slide, Jen. And I think I'm going to hand this over to Drew now. Thanks, Drew.
Yeah, thank you, Tracy. Yeah, a little bit about our agency. Again, my name is Drew York. I'm the caseworker. I'm with Alameda County Department of Environmental Health local oversight program. This agency's role is to facilitate protection of human health and the environment by overseeing subsurface investigations and to better understand and kind of delineate impacts or constituents of concern in soil, groundwater, and soil vapor. We also oversee corrective and remedial actions to protect human health of construction workers and future occupants of redevelopment. And more importantly, we oversee community and human health protection measures to the surrounding community while the investigations or the redevelopment activities are implemented at the site. So for the site history, the site is, as Tracy said, is located in the Castle Mount neighborhood. It's located in the northeast corner of MacArthur Boulevard and 90th Avenue. There's the previous uses at the site include a gasoline service station, an automobile station, as well as a car wash. As Tracy said, the site's been vacant since 2006. And also we wanted to, more importantly, indicate that the developer did not contaminate the soil that was from previous uses before the developer, but it entered into a voluntary remedial action agreement to remediate the site and to support the development. Thanks. Next slide. So the environmental conditions at the site, as I mentioned before, they entered into a voluntary remedial action agreement with us, and that was in May of 2019 to voluntarily remediate the site and for the development. There's been multiple investigations at the site since 2017. With the results of those investigations indicate that there are impacts in soil and soil gas. Soil gas is essentially the air between soil particles. And then there was no chemicals found in the groundwater there. And then the primary kind of chemicals of concern are what we call as COCs, are related to the historical operations, and they include lead and arsenic and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons in soil, and volatile organic compounds, including chloroform and a solvent known as tetrachloroethylene, PCE, in soil gas. A couple other site things to know about here is the groundwater is approximately 15 feet below ground surface. Drinking water primarily comes from East Bay Municipal Utility District, and other constituents of concern such as hydrocarbons were limited in concentrations. Next slide. So this slide shows the historical operations. You can see the former UST, which stands for underground storage tank, and that's related to the gasoline service station, as well as the blue box, which is the former automotive service station. So as I mentioned before, the chemicals, the primary chemicals of concern, lead was found in the vicinity of the former gas station and is associated with the underground storage tank, also the automotive service station, and then former building demolition. Lead can be found in lead-based paints prior to when it was phased out. The PAHs, the polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, are related to the former USTs, as well as the service station, and then potential waste oil releases. Other constituents include total petroleum hydrocarbons, and those are related to the former gas station, as well as the underground storage tanks. And then lastly, there is potential fill at the site, and there is arsenic within the fill, and the fill is from construction, building demolition of the previous structures that were there. Next slide. Thank you. So the developer drafted a corrective action plan, and that's been sent out for public comment. We're in the middle of the public comment period. And essentially what this presentation is to kind of make the public known of what's going on at the site, and then have the opportunity to comment. The CAP, or the corrective action plan, essentially summarizes all the investigations that have been conducted at the site. And then it proposes remedial and then also mitigation strategies to address contamination in the soil and soil gas. So for the proposed remedial action, that would include soil excavation. There is going to be a site-wide excavation to remove shallow lead, arsenic, and PAHs impacts across the upper 3 feet of soil across the site. And that will also be in preparation for the site construction. There'll be select deeper excavations to remove volatile organic compounds, and that will be from approximately 6 to 10 feet in some of the historical locations of the former wash pad, the underground storage tank, and the service station. That soil will then be transported to a licensed disposal facility, and then backfilled with clean imported soil in accordance with guidelines that through our agency. And then most importantly, this last comment addresses contamination early in the construction project and allows construction of building foundation, utilities, and landscape. So that essentially we're trying to remediate in the front end of the project. That way it is removed. So during construction, it's not an issue. Next slide. So the proposed mitigation measures or corrective actions include the installation of engineering systems. We call them vapor mitigation engineering controls beneath the building, and then along utility trenches. That would be, where the sewer or gas lines enter to service the building. Those include a plastic barrier. You can see this on the right, a picture of the blue plastic barrier. And then vent piping as well beneath the foundation, which would then vent or dilute any soil gas impacts into the atmosphere. There's also long-term management systems, which would be long-term operation and maintenance and managing and monitoring, reports that will be required. And lastly, these mitigation measures, will help prevent the chemicals from entering the building, and then protect the health of the future occupants of the building. Next slide. So the next 3 or 4 slides are real important, and I'm going to go through these pretty meticulously. Protecting the community, so who can be exposed, on-site workers, the surrounding community and businesses, and then possibly passerbys. And how can they be exposed? That would be inhalation, dermal or skin contact, and then ingestion. So during that, ACDEH requires methods to protect the public during all environmental work, which we'll be talking about in the next 3 slides.
And Drew, that's really to metals or chemicals in soil that they would be exposed to, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Next slide. So protecting the community during excavation activities, as Tracy said, in the soils. So there'll be real-time perimeter air monitoring. So all construction kicks up dust in the air. So in order to mitigate that and monitor that, there'll be perimeter air monitoring. There'll be a full-time environmental professional on site. And then the reporting of the air monitoring results will then be uploaded to GeoTracker for the public to see. Additional other things would be on-site soil management. That would be dust control, soil stockpile management. You can see here on the right that the stockpile is covered with a plastic material and then weighted down, so it cannot get blown away by or get blown into the air by wind or something along those lines. There's also direct load when possible. So that would be direct load into a dump truck. The excavator would directly load the impacted soil, and then the dump truck would then drive off. Air monitoring, and then there'll be signs, and the developer will also have signs around the development that has a number for calls for complaints. It'll also have, which we'll talk about later, our contact information as well as the developer information. And then stormwater management, that'll have things like hay bales or silt fencing. Next slide. So truck management and route management, essentially the city of Oakland has a construction management plan that they require, and that includes designated truck routes and then limited idle time either around the site or you know a long line of trucks. You can see here the preventing of track out. So this person right here is scraping potential impacted soil off the tires, so it's not then carried out off-site. And then there'll also be you know, training of the truck drivers to make sure that they're following the designated routes and things like that. And then a big one is construction worker parking. We've seen in the past, you know, a lot of public comments have discussed, you know, you know, everywhere in Oakland there's a limited parking. So the developer will work with the construction team to and with the community to find where a good spot for the construction workers to park. Next slide. And then lastly, as I was talking about before, so there'll be site signage around the perimeter of the redevelopment site. That information will have a number for a complaint log. It'll have my contact information, and it'll have the developer's contact information. So if you see anything or need to, you know, voice your comments or anything like that, we're available by phone and email, and so is the developer. Additional other things that will be done is there'll be weekly status reports that'll be uploaded to GeoTracker. And GeoTracker is the State Water Board's kind of database for the site. So that has everything from reports that are really technical to, you know, phase ones, which go through the history of the site and things of that nature. So they'll have air monitoring reports from during construction activities. They'll be uploaded regularly to the case file on GeoTracker. Next slide. So the proposed schedule, as I mentioned, we're in the middle of the public comment period for the draft corrective action plan. The next milestone is today, which is our public meeting. After that, we will then issue our comment for the draft corrective action plan and incorporate any public comments that we receive into that. And then from there, there'll be submittal of a corrective action implementation plan. And that is a document that explains kind of the technical details of the proposed remedial and corrective actions. So in this case, it would, explain the dimensions of the proposed excavation. It'll also explain, and provide technical specs on the vapor engineering mitigation controls. Within that, the project planning and review and approval process, so that'll be done with the City of Oakland, and that's slated for the fall of 2021. And then remedial soil excavation is slated for the fall of 2022. That would include the grading of the site and the soil excavation. And then the construction, including the vapor mitigation system components. Again, that's in the fall of 2022. And then communications, as I said, I'll be available by phone or email, and that's ongoing, and so will the developer as well. Next slide. Here's a couple contact information, pieces of contact information. So again, my name is Drew York. I'm the caseworker. Here's my information. Tracy, who is moderating this, who raised her hand, she is available as well. And then the developer, Sibley, is also available, and I think he just raised his hand as well. And then lastly, as I mentioned before, the GeoTracker website, you can search for Envision Housing, and then you can look at all the reports. Again, a lot of that is technical, but all the data available for this site will be on the GeoTracker website. And if you search for Envision Housing, you can find it.
Okay, thank you, Drew. Okay,
Thank
I
you.
am going to open this up to public comment, but a few things and questions, but a few things I just want to note. If you're calling in with your cell phone, you need to push *6 to unmute yourself and then *9 to raise your hand. I would prefer just to promote all of you to panelists so we can see you. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. But before I do that, I want to make sure that we recognize that Daryl Stewart from Supervisor Nate Miley's office is here. Wanted to welcome you. And then I'm going to promote all of you, which means you'll just be panelists. It will be like a regular Zoom meeting, and that way we can see your faces. We'd love to have you all introduce yourselves too, since this is a small meeting. And also, if you'd like to put your name or email in the chat box, we will keep you on the project email list for this site. And I think that's it. So I am going to have you first. I think it's Tashara. My eyes are, here we are. Tashara Newton, would you like to introduce yourself? Hi, thanks for joining us.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, I'm out here in Hawaii, and this hotel has bad reception. I'm from Project Hood. I own a house that I live in, and also rent out the front house on 86 and International. So I'm in the area, not too far. Yeah, so that's who I am.
Nice to meet you.
Okay.
And hi, Daryl Stewart.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
I'm Daryl. I work for Supervisor Miley. Thank you for having me. I'm just here to drop in and listen.
We are glad you're here. And then
Thank you for having
Reverend Jasper, I don't see your last name. You gotta, it's too long.
Lowry.
Lowry. Hi there. Would you like to introduce yourself? Okay, well, we will move on to Alms Motor Group, if you care to introduce yourself. You have to unmute though.
Hello, can you hear us?
Yes, we can.
Aaron Mouton, ALMS Motor Group.
Well, nice to meet. Do you have a business in the area? Okay. All right. So questions from the people that have attended, we'd love to. We have the other two people are call-in users, and if you'd like to talk and introduce yourself, please feel free.
Is that us or someone else?
No, we have two call-in. One is 415-237-1316, it looks like. Okay, well, maybe not tonight. So if we would like to open it up for questions about this work or any kind of public comments you'd like us to consider. Once again, this is really on the environmental aspect of this project, which is the excavation work and the installation of the engineered system to prevent vapors from coming into any building that's built, which supports development. So just raise your hand or go ahead and talk.
Feel a little shy.
Oh, you do? Okay, don't. Really, we're all friendly. This
Okay.
meeting's about you guys, really.
So I do have a slight question. So I think I came in a little late. So the breaking of the ground and the disposing of the toxic soil, when would that, and was that 2022?
Was that right, Drew? 2022?
Yeah, fall of 2022 is what the developer is slated.
But I would assume that the remediation portion of that would be fairly short, right? The actual soil, removal of any soil that contains contamination is pretty short-lived. It's not going to be 12 months worth of removal.
Yeah, this is a relatively small site, and so removal of the soil is not going to take a very long time at all. Dylan, I don't know what you'd say is your best guess, but possibly a week or two. But
For the remedial excavation?
yeah.
I don't know at this time. We'll have more information as we get closer, but I think it could be several weeks to 2 to 3 weeks. I think it possibly could be. There's a good amount of soil that will be removed at this site, and we want to make sure that it's done in a manner that is controlled and does not create a lot of dust generation or track out into the streets.
So you do it slower so that you can actually have more control over the actual work. So, and Tashara, if you want to throw your email or text in, text the number to text you at when we get closer to the actual remediation portion, we can send the time frame that would be. But again, it's not 12 months. It's probably a month or a month and a half usually.
Now, I do want to give some clarification because it's an important, it's important that you understand this, Tashara, that environmental health will be overseeing that excavation when the soil is being removed that has contamination in it. But then, this construction project will go on for quite some time.
Okay.
Because it's a building project, and building projects have their own set of noise and dust, but they will not be related to any kind of contaminated soil.
Okay, right.
And I'll add for our part, the timing as to when that's going to happen, what we put out there fall of 2022, that's very hard to predict. That's just the best guess or a target. The key is to get through this process so we know what really has to be done to clean up the contamination. But then we as developers have to design the project, apply to the city of Oakland for permission to build the project and a design review, and engage the community more about the actual project and its design and the affordable housing, et cetera. None of that's even started yet because, this was the important thing to figure out and get planned first. So those things, sometimes it could take you know, the 18 months to get all the permits and go through all that design and approval process. Sometimes it could take a lot longer. So, you know, it could be fall of 2023 when we break ground and do this. So I just wanted to make sure if you were circling it on your calendar, you knew it's going to be a long process.
Right, and COVID is not helping it any. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense. No, I just missed a little bit of it, so I was just trying to see the dates. Okay.
Other questions? Comments?
Question?
Yeah, please.
Is that me?
We hear you, yes.
Okay. So is the concern once the ground is broken, the exposure, what's underneath? Is that what we're really concerned about? Because this project, this location has been sitting dormant for quite some time. And in reference to that area and that community, it's really needed to have something going on there positive to help that community, because I'm out there regularly. I live right up the block, and I see and I service that store, and I'm always bringing positivity to the community in that area about things that goes on with outreach in terms of jobs and housing, just to keep that community vibrant and moving. And here's an opportunity that they can maybe receive even a housing right there. So it's a concern that what's underneath once the ground is broken, or is it something that's there now? Because I've lived in Oakland all my life. I've never seen the gas station that's supposed to have been there. I saw the car wash as a young man. So that's a question. And then I'll give a comment.
So, will you remind me what your name was? The person.
Hi, I'm Reverend Dr. Jasper Lowry with the Rojas Group, and
Hi,
also
Reverend.
International Outreach.
Hi, Reverend Dr. Jasper Lowry. So this is Dylan Rowe, and it's a really good question. And I am going to be quite honest, because that is what I'm going to do. Oakland has, East and West Oakland have a lot of contamination, right, from historic land use. And it is a conversation that needs to continue to be had and talked about. At a level where we engage people that have some influence on how money is budgeted and spent to help clean up contamination that are in these areas. And so this is not new contamination, this is historic contamination. And it is not unusual for this area of Oakland. There are many, many, many sites that have similar kinds of contamination. And so what is really good is that this project and the developer are working to clean up this slice of that portion of the neighborhood, right? And that right now is the way we're being able to clean up Oakland, is one parcel at a time by developers as we change them from undeveloped or blighted properties into something useful and wonderful again that serve a community. But it doesn't take care of everything, right? And so, we want to make sure, environmental health wants to make sure that when buildings are built and there is an opportunity to get stuff out of the ground at an area, and there is somebody that is willing to do it, like a developer who is willing to do it in order to build on top of that land, that happens, and that we don't just slap buildings on top of contamination and then just let it sit there for another 30 years. So, we are, this developer has been working with us for quite some time. And we consider them partners. We oversee them, so we need to make sure that it's done right. But I do consider them partners because they are doing and working with environmental health to help make sure that at least this property gets cleaned up. And it's our goal to do that one site at a time, but it is a conversation that continues to need to be out there.
Now, here's my statement. First of all, I 100% support the Sibley Group, because even coming into the communities and with the idea to support and help the folks that are just, I mean, around the poverty level, that he would be willing to come in.
Yeah.
I would imagine that all the car washing that took place there has probably pushed the pollution that's down so far in the soil, they cannot be dug up, because I remember all the car washing. I don't remember the gas stationing. So that's a prayer that I'm putting out there, that they don't even find any contamination once they begin to dig and search and look, unless I guess you have to go down so far. So I appreciate your comment about just being precise about making sure there's nothing there to build on top of. I think that's great as a start. And then I have to come up to, again, to the community base, where I do know and understand that we need organizations like Sibley's in our communities to assist in some of this that's going on. I'm not dealing with the pandemic right now. I watched the homelessness come in, and I watched it turn into something else. And I've been dealing with homelessness for 22 years. It got to a place where even all of what I was adding wasn't helping, and all the constituents that we trained and taught how to go out, do outreach, bring people in. I don't care if we put them on a couch, put them in the garage, wherever. All that's over. There's no more couches, no more garages. And now here we are, developers are coming in, they're putting buildings up and putting people in them, a lot of them which people cannot afford. But here's an opportunity that we can have an affordable place right there in that community, and prayerfully it'll go on further. I think there's another project he's doing that's in that area, or he done, or what have you, that is showing itself and proving itself to be very supportive of what's going on, so we can get back to ending the homelessness in Oakland and get our people back to working. What I'm doing right now, and I'm closing, and walking the streets and approaching these encampments to get these guys back to work. This tent thing is over. You got to get back to work. You got to be able to afford to live in this apartment down the street, around the corner. You're gonna have to be able to afford to stay somewhere. You cannot stay in these tents. It's over. And that's my message. And I'm out there 5 days a week, 4 hours a day. And I just want to put that out there, and just also take my hat off to Sibley, and also with you, to you, for working with him and what he's doing to improve on that area. I think it's needed right there. So I thank you for listening.
I thank you for being part of this, because this conversation, I agree, Pastor Langford and Sibley and this group is a great group. And it's a good model. And you know, one of the things that we want to do is continue to talk to communities. There's a lot of challenges, right? And this is one of them. And this project is going to bring some vitality back and some needed housing in this area, and it'll be safe. It'll be a safe, safe development. So,
amen. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you.
Welcome.
That mute button. Any other questions, comments, thoughts? I'll give it a minute, and then I think we will close. Again, I just want to call your attention to the information on the right. GeoTracker is the Water Board's online website where you can find the draft correction action plan. If for some reason you can't access that, you can call me. I'm Tracy Craig, and I'll make sure that you get a hard copy if you'd like to read that. Again, there's phone numbers to call. I answer my cell phone, so if you have lots of questions, you can call me, and I'll make sure you get in touch with the right person.
I have one question. Tracy, Haley Hester, who's the community liaison for Councilperson Trevor Reed, she couldn't make it, but she told me that she's going to be following up with you regarding tonight's community meeting.
Happy to talk with her, and glad that Trevor's in office too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hello, this is Norris Shepherd from the Los Palmas community.
Hi.
Just have a quick question. So how many units will be placed on this particular parcel?
We don't know yet, so we're really just going through this environmental process to make sure this can successfully be developed. But we're nearing the end of that. It's going well, so we're excited to be able to clean it up and then develop. But I'm not trying to avoid your question. I'm trying to, so I will tell you preliminarily, it looks to me like under the zoning, under Oakland zoning, when you're doing affordable housing, there can be 34 units, but we have to really verify that in the code and state law, and then we have to apply to the city with an actual plan. That, and it's not just number of units of the limit, there's height, there's, size of the building and various things. And so we have to do that design, which we haven't done yet, and then apply to Oakland. And then there will be more public process and notification stuff once there is a design and there can be comments on that. So that comes in the next stage, but I hope that answer by saying what's legally zoned there, as I currently understand it, gives you an idea of the range of possibilities.
Okay, I mean, that's fine, but I would like to, because I'm also on the Crime Prevention Council for the MacArthur corridor there. And so I would like to, once you finalize your details and all that, and I would like to see your renderings also, if that's possible to,
Absolutely. Yeah, we're very transparent about what we do. We're not a secret developer that tries to sneak up by surprise, because we want all the ideas and we want to have more connections with more people in the neighborhood. So it sounds like you're involved. We'd love to get your email address, and as we go forward later in the spring with figuring those things out, we'd love to be in touch.
Okay, I'd love to
Mr.
give.
Shepherd, do you want to throw your email address in the chat box, and that way we have it, and we can make sure.
Yes, I can. So, or you can get it from, Raymond.
Oh, if he's got it,
Yeah,
great.
I have
Yeah,
it.
we'll follow up that way. Great.
And thank you, Norris, for chiming in, and everyone. Norris Shepherd was instrumental in introducing New Way Homes to the Toller Heights Neighborhood Association and the Las Pumas Neighborhood Association. And Norris, I spoke with Ms. Jane Blackshear earlier, so she's going to be following up with you, but they've done a lot to bring us to the table and inform us of what's going on in the community. Also, Norris is a scientist, so he can help us with COVID job opportunities for young people on this project in that area.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Okay, so it was a pleasure being a part of this.
Great.
Okay, any last thoughts?
Thank you for your time.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. And I think that I'll let you all go 10 minutes early to go enjoy your evening safely. And once again, we appreciate your time and input, and we'll let you know as we move forward with the project.